don't think there's any denying the fact that Welcome to Derry has become one of the most awaited shows this year, especially for the horror fans. After the groundbreaking success of 2017's It and its sequel, we're now in for a prequel story that's supposed to delve into the origins of Pennywise, and I couldn't be more excited. The first episode is finally here, and it sets up the series perfectly with some shocking moments and a brutal and unexpected twist in the climactic moments. One thing is very clear, Pennywise is awake and active, preying on his victims in Derry, Maine, and his reign of terror has only just begun. In this video, I'll break down the episode for you and elaborate on the eventful climax and its implications. There might be some major spoilers along the way, so you've been warned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What happens in the dramatic prologue sequence and how does it set up the story? The season premiere opens with a prologue sequence, and you couldn't have asked for a better opening. Personally, I love it when shows set up the story in the very first scene, and Welcome to Derry gets the job done. The scene is set in the theaters, and while people are enjoying a movie, the camera focuses on little Matty Clements. He is there all by himself, and we soon find out that he hasn't exactly entered the theater lawfully. Also, he has a pacifier for some reason, even though he's old enough to have grown out of it. He's spotted by one of the ushers in the theater and makes a run for it, helped by a young attendant named Ronnie who doesn't disclose his hiding place. Matty runs outside and it's bitterly cold as he starts walking. He seeks a lift from passing cars and one car stops. There's a family of 4 inside. Parents and 2 kids, a young boy and a teenage girl. Instantly, they seem rather kind and pick him up, but the car ride soon becomes weird. It doesn't take long before you realize they're all possessed by it, and they're not behaving normally. The mother is pregnant and she gives birth to what looks like a mutant monster. The scene is rather graphic and bloody as you see a blob-like figure emerging from her, and this is no ordinary baby. The demonic baby creates a ruckus in the car as Matty panics, but there's nowhere to run. The last thing we see is his pacifier falling into the stream and making its way through the sewers, and the scene cuts away. I had barely taken a few bits from my bowl of chips and I had to sit up in my couch already because the opening sequence was enough to have my attention. You can already tell that Pennywise is on the hunt, and there's something sinister about to be unleashed on this quiet town.
We should have another print up in the storage room.
How is the new Losers Club introduced in the episode? If you're familiar with the It storyline in general, you know that the Losers Club plays a pretty important role, and the episode soon sets up the potential candidates who can put up a fight against the Pennywise menace. We meet 2 nerdy but charismatic kids, Phil and Teddy, who are among the outcast children who usually form the Losers Club. They have inquisitive minds, they love comic books, and they enjoy talking about unexplained paranormal phenomenon. Their discussions usually involve quirky topics like why brassieres are pointy, and why men still have nipples when they serve no purpose. Typical silly young adolescent conversations. However, what makes them so engaging is their personality, and they also seem to be really good friends. Meanwhile, the narrative also takes you to another outcast, Lily, who's trying hard to fit in. She's grieving her father's death, since he died a year ago in a horrific but slightly comical incident in a pickle jarring factory. There have been schoolyard rumors that pieces of him are still found in pickle jars all over New England, and Lily is viewed as a weird kid by the others, except for her geeky friend in school. I was under the notion that this trio would be the protagonists going ahead, but of course the narrative had other plans, which I'll come to later. How is Matty related to Phil, Teddy, and Lily? There's a quick flashback scene that reveals more about Matty than we find out from the first prologue sequence. There's an abandoned observatory in town, and this is the secret hangout spot for Phil and Teddy. Matty also knew about the place, and he had taken Lily there because she was among the few people that he considered friends. Not to mention, he had a huge crush on her, and he wanted to impress her with this secret hideout that had a great view of the city. The conversation between the two tells us about how Lily has been dealing with the loss of her father, and she blames herself for his death. Matty is sympathetic and tries his best to comfort her, and there's a major hint that Matty has a dysfunctional family of sorts, maybe even an abusive father. In the moment of sharing each other's trauma, Matty tries his luck and goes for a kiss, but Lily is taken by surprise and pulls back, much to Matty's embarrassment. He heads out, and this last meeting continues to haunt Lily, even though it's been 4 months since Matty went missing. As for Phil and Teddy, they weren't exactly friends with Matty, but they were bribed by Matty's mother to hang out with him. They even took Matty to their secret hangout spot once, even though Matty told Lily that they were best of friends, in a desperate attempt to feel included. Now both Phil and Teddy have some guilt about not doing enough for Matty, or not being there for him when he needed them the most. As it turns out, they'd even forgotten his birthday, even after being bribed to give him company. Ever since Maddie went missing, he's been largely presumed dead, but his body hasn't been found yet, which leaves some hope that he might still be alive somewhere. As for the narrative, the interpersonal connections between the children makes the missing case more impactful for them, and the curious ones like Phil and Teddy are looking for answers. What is the meaning of the hallucinations experienced by Lily and Teddy? The episode does well to build a lot of tension and mystery around Maddie's disappearance, and Lily and Teddy in particular are still struggling to come to terms with it. In such a situation, a moment of hallucination changes things completely. Lily is by herself in her bathroom when she hears Maddie singing "You Got Trouble" from her bathroom sink. The sound seems to be coming from the pipelines, and Lily is immediately alarmed and shocked. She's shocked to hear Maddie's voice echoing from the pipes, and she asks if he's down there, only to see a bloodied finger emerging from the sink drain momentarily. If this wasn't a hallucination at all, it was the first sign that Pennywise was always trying to get to her in a way. She's quite disturbed after this experience, and she tells her friend in school Marge about this, who's quick to warn her not to talk about such crazy stuff in front of the popular kids. Lily is disappointed because her experience is too real for her, but her friend isn't ready to accept it. This makes her reach out to Teddy and Phil. While Phil is quick to dismiss her visions, Teddy points out that they don't rule out the impossible in paranormal stuff, like Phil's obsession with alien presences on Earth. As for now, they consider Lily's version of the story, but it all changes when Teddy has a horrifying vision as well. A look into his house shows that he comes from a strict Jewish family, and when he asks his father if it's possible to keep kids underground, the man dismisses his silly question with a terrifying World War II Holocaust story, so that he learns more about real-life horrors. But that night, something happens that changes Teddy's stance completely. He's terrorized by a hallucination, as his lampshade appears to be made out of stitched-together faces, and it leaves him rattled before it all goes back to normal. But now he has more reasons to believe that Lily might actually be onto something. What happens when the kids try to solve the mystery of missing Maddie? Ending explained. The kids now decide to dig deep into the mystery of Maddie's disappearance. They look through newspaper reports to find out about the night in the theater, where Maddie was last seen. Here, they find out about the young attendant Ronnie, who was there that night, and they decide to meet her to find out more. They're accompanied by Phil's adorable little sister Susie, and the four of them then head out to meet Ronnie. But she's initially in no mood to talk because, as it turns out, the cops harassed her father quite a bit after Maddie was never found again. However, Ronnie's stance changes when she realizes that Lily also heard from Maddie. Even Ronnie has been experiencing unexplained visions and hearing voices, and she reluctantly agrees to join the group to get to the bottom of the mystery. They decide to start where Maddie was last seen. All of them are seated in an empty theater, and Ronnie plays the same film that was playing that fateful night. This is where we have the most shocking part of the episode. As the movie ends, the kids who were there just to get some answers find out more than they expected. As Harold Hill sings about the trouble facing River City, there's real trouble in the theater, as Maddie suddenly appears on screen holding a swaddled baby. He's flanked by the creepy family who kidnapped him earlier, and when he beams in classic Pennywise style, we know something terrible is about to happen. He then reveals that the baby he's been holding is actually the mutant creature, and he unleashes this beast on the kids. Phil, Teddy, Susie, and Lily don't stand a chance, and a violent showdown leaves everyone except Lily and Ronnie seemingly dead. The visuals don't pull punches, and you can see the bloodied violence as Phil and Teddy are brutally slaughtered. Also, the final image of Lily getting out alive but still holding onto Susie's hand is equally haunting, because it's just her severed hand and nothing else. As for Maddie, we don't know if he's really alive, but even if he is, he's now under the influence of Pennywise. The episode ends on this ominous note as the ones we thought would be the protagonists are seemingly dead, and the scene is fittingly graphic and disturbing enough to leave you rattled. As the showrunner later pointed out in an interview with IGN, it was done intentionally for the shock value, and so that the audience realizes that nothing can be taken for granted here, and nobody has plot armor strong enough to save them from the horrors of Pennywise. Could Phil, Teddy, and Susie still be alive? I think I've watched enough horror and thriller shows to know that a seemingly dead person is not really dead until we see a body. Sometimes not even then. Thus, even though it's strongly indicated that the kids are dead, I have to admit there's no official confirmation, because the deaths largely happen off-screen. At best, I can say that Teddy is probably dead for sure because the demonic mutant baby rips him in half and slams him against the projection booth. As for Phil, we do see him getting dragged up to the ceiling, but there's always a slim chance that he survives. Also, Susie's arm might have been ripped off, but she might hang on to dear life as well. Yes, the chances of survival are abysmally slim, but not zero. There's another possibility that you should consider. We've known it to toy with the minds of his victims, and the entity is capable of inducing visions and hallucinations. What if the entire violent sequence in the theater is just a trick, and the kids are just hallucinating while sitting in their seats? This might serve as a warning for the kids who are starting to get too curious about the mystery of their missing friend. But I would love to see them back up on their feet if that's the case. But I must tell you that even the chances of this don't look very promising, and there's a big possibility that we haven't even been introduced to the actual Losers Club members in this story. Lily will now be fueled by revenge, and she can be the one to lead the fight alongside Ronnie, given how they are the two survivors. The second episode will have a lot of answers that I'm dying to know, and it will be a rather agonizing wait.
Come on, Paulie. We survived Korea. Pretty sure we can survive this.
What's the importance of Major Leroy Hanlon in the plot? This is more of a side plot so far, but I get the feeling that Major Leroy Hanlon will play a major role in the story going ahead. He's introduced as a gallant pilot of the US Air Force, and he moves to Derry with his buddy Captain Paulie Russo for a secret mission. He's supposed to serve as a pilot in an experimental new line of B-52 bombers, and he quickly realizes that the town has its quirks. Firstly, he encounters some racist disrespect immediately after arriving by some of his subordinates. But luckily, the chief of the base is quick to stand up to the disrespect. General Shaw seemingly has a lot of respect for Major Hanlon, even though his driver looks at him rather strangely. I wonder what that's all about. The movie has a strong Cold War vibe, given the timeline, and this airbase is only 7 hours from enemy territory, making it a strategic stronghold. Also, Major Hanlon has a horrid experience one night as he gets attacked by masked men who try to extract classified information from him at gunpoint. He remains defiant, which almost gets him shot, before Paulie comes to his rescue and the attackers are chased off. Clearly, some big conspiracy is brewing around him, and Major Hanlon is quite clueless so far. However, those who are familiar with the entire Stephen King lore will know that the secret project at the airport base and the driver who drives around General Shaw have a lot of importance to the plot. This tells you that the series is trying to remain faithful to the source material, and the creative team is not afraid to take risks, which is evident from the dramatic and violent climax. Marvelous verdict. Season opener promises a dark and gritty Pennywise story. After having watched the first episode, I can tell you one thing with confidence. The narrative is not going to hold back, and this one does not intend to be a kid-friendly horror series. The way half of the supposed Losers Club members are wiped out shows us that Pennywise is not playing around, and I have a feeling that this version of the terrifying entity will be deadlier than the movie adaptations. I love how the first episode sets up the plot, and then throws it apart for the second episode to pick up the crumbs. And as for the acting performances, I think everyone did a fine job, especially the actress who plays Lily. We sure have a lot to look forward to, and I hope the second episode keeps up the intensity as we step deeper into the grim world of Pennywise, where his reign has just begun. Let me know in the comments below about your thoughts on the first episode, and also share your views on what might happen next.